go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Masters Fantasy Show, brought to you by MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com. I'm your host, the Commish. Joining us today, Dynasty Owl. What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing great. Another day, another day.
Yes, sir. Today's show, we're going to be taking a look Week 8, wide receiver waiver wire. Before we jump into today's show, if you're looking for a place to play Dynasty football, redraft football, best ball leagues, playoff leagues will be coming pretty soon, halfway through the season, kind of crazy. Also currently running weekly leagues. With that said, though, let's jump into it. Dynasty Owl, kick it over to you. What wide receiver are you targeting on the waiver wire this week?
Sure. So what's funny about my guy is, I kind of had his name in, after the games on Sunday. He was a name that was popping in my head to use on the show. And then right before we got talking today, his name got a lot better because, so my name's Alan Lazard. He's my guy. But Devonte Adams just went on the COVID list. I believe he tested positive, and they play on Thursday. So now, I think there's still a scenario where he would be able to play, like back-to-back negative tests, symptom-free, basically would deem it like a false positive and he'd be good for Thursday. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So anyway, this Thursday night, I think Alan Lazard is going to be in the wide receiver one share for Green Bay. Even if he's not, though, let's just pretend he's the number 2. He's got back-to-back weeks over 10 points now, as Aaron Rodgers is kind of coming alive, looking like his old self after a slow week 1. Alan Lazard, though, really didn't do anything the first 5 weeks of the year. It wasn't until week 6 where he had 5 catches and a touchdown, and then last week week 6, 3 catches and a touchdown. Week 7, 5 catches and a touchdown this past Sunday. What's intriguing about him? He's big. He's decently athletic for that size too. He's 6'4.5", 220. So maybe 217 or something like that. So really nice eyes at the receiver position. And I think he's kind of really supplanted Randall Cobb and Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the number 2 receiver in Green Bay. So I think, that's Lazard's role. I think Rodgers is finding him. But yeah, especially with this Devonte Adams news. We saw Chandler Jones sidelined a couple weeks with testing positive as well. So I think there's a chance, could be a couple weeks without Devonte Adams. Now, I hope it's not for everyone's sake, but realistically, I don't think he's going to play Thursday based on what we know right now, but that could change. So, and the good news is Adam Lazard is widely available because he was doing nothing. So he was dropped everywhere where he was rostered. So he's a guy you can definitely go out and get.
Yeah, and if you go back to last year, there was a time where Alan Lazard was a hot pickup a year ago.
Yep.
Obviously, an injury that ended the season, but him and Aaron Rodgers, man, were starting to establish a connection. He was growing into that number 2 role last year.
Absolutely, and that was kind of one of my points that I forgot to bring up. Is really the past 2 years he's been solid. He hasn't had that breakout year, but he's had moments multiple times the past 2 seasons where he's looked like a legit piece, and him and Rodgers had that chemistry, and I think they're getting it back, and I think it's time maybe this is it for real.
Yeah, I think it's a great take, and I'll be honest, this is the first I've heard of the Devonte Adams news.
Yeah.
And sitting here thinking about it, listen, Alan Lazard with no Devonte Adams, I'd probably start him over quite a few number 1 wide receivers already sitting on my team.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. And I'm just going to toss it in there too, man. If Adams don't play, give me Cobb too if I'm hurting that wide receiver. All right, I'm going to move on to my guy here, a guy that kind of resurrected his season this past week. Russell Gage returns to the Atlanta Falcons, comes out, gets 4 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. A guy that I've dropped in all my redraft leagues, the guy that I was really high on coming into the season. I think last year, 72 catches, 786 yards, 25 years old, a guy that was really looking like he was going to take over that number 2 spot this year in Atlanta with Julio Jones gone. That Atlanta offense overall hasn't looked great. And look, I don't want to put it all on Russell Gage and say that that's what they were missing. But I do think when he was healthy, returned to the lineup, I think this offense looked a lot better. You've seen Pitts look better last week. Calvin Ridley got in the end zone. He got in the end zone. I just think as a whole, he was kind of like a piece that was missing from that offense. Like I said, a guy that Matt Ryan looked at 100 times last year for 72 receptions. a guy that I think is very talented.
Yeah.
And a guy that I think going forward, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a big part of that Atlanta offense. He's going to be able to definitely a guy that you can use on bye weeks, and maybe the guy that you should just be flat out starting. So
Right.
for me, I'm going to pick up Russell Gage this week, and hopefully he can pick up some of that momentum and carry it over from last year.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the take, and more than anything, what I love about him is, out of this young receiving group that they have, he's really the most experienced. He spent the most time with Matt Ryan. Obviously, Calvin Ridley's, the top dog at the receiver position and a great young talent. But Ridley's, he's young and he's missed some time this year. Russell Gage has been around the system a little while. He's a great route runner. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, an electric young player as well. But Russell Gage is kind of the Mr. Consistent type of guy out of the group. He's almost like their Jarvis Landry type of player, just kind of, get open and catch the ball. And yeah, I think Matt Ryan's gonna keep looking his way like he did a year ago, and kind of help replace Julio Jones a little bit.
Yeah, and two more things I want to say. One was going to be a stat correction from the last show because I got these two confused, but it's actually a good thing for Dave. Hold on, who was I? It's actually a good thing for Elijah Mitchell. I had said that coming up like the next 5-6 games, he didn't play any defenses ranked in the top 10. That's actually currently as it sits, he plays no defenses in the top 10 the whole rest of the season.
Wow.
For Elijah Mitchell. Just want to toss that out there.
Wow.
The stat for the next 5 games was actually for Russell Gage. Minus Carolina. They got Carolina this week. The 5 games after the Carolina game, I'm pretty sure all 5 defenses ranked 20 or above, and 3 of them 24th, 29th, and 30th. So I think because a lot of what you've seen this week in Atlanta, that they played Miami, I think that helped out too. But there's some gravy matchups on the schedule coming up too. So I think, Russell Gage will continue for at least the next 5 weeks and hopefully the rest of the season. So,
but gravy matchups. You're getting me ready for Thanksgiving.
There you go. Yeah, I can't wait, man. All right. Any other wide receivers on your list?
None sticking out big time. We've talked about a lot of these guys. Just looking at the list, I think Bryan Edwards is a guy. I've talked about him a lot. Where last week he finally did a little something, caught a touchdown. AJ Green's still hanging out there in a lot of leagues, and he still looks decent every week. So I think he's worth the pickup. It's really all about all I got.
I've been telling you guys, AJ Green.
I know. Yeah.
I finally got one right on one of them old guys. So
actually, I got one more that I've never been big on him, and he's been really bad this year, really underwhelming. But Robbie Anderson, if he just gets a chance, he'll flash and have some of them big plays. He was really good last year. And I always thought he was overrated, which I look right now, but I still think he'll have some boom weeks here down the stretch. So he might be a guy to pick up.
I actually thought he was going to have one this week. And I'm not sure if we talked about it in the past. One thing I do like about Robbie Anderson is targets, man.
Yeah.
I think 2 of his last 3 games, he's gotten like 11 targets.
Yeah, you're spot on. 11 targets, 7 targets, 11 targets, 9 targets. So the targets are there.
Yeah, because he was a guy I was looking at to use, and I'm like, man, 11 targets, but 3 receptions. You got to think at some point those 2 things are going to come together for a couple weeks. But I don't know, man. For me, I'm going to sit him until I can see for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but good stuff. That's going to wrap up this edition. Wide receiver targets for week 8. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you could hit the like and subscribe button, come be a part of the Masters family. Love to have you. Any last words, Dynasty Owl?
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.